Hello, everybody. So I also said that in addition to the draft that you guys are going to have to finish, that you would have kind of a little tiny video assignment. And the video assignment was referring to what we talked about in class last Monday. So namely, the average distance from the mean. So if you recall, um, the way I set this up is I started talking about a tale of two students, and each student took 5 exams. So the first student got 75, 74, 74, 77, 75. The second student got 75, 50, 90, 60, and 100. And if you guys remember, when we would find the mean for both of these students, which is what we use to actually assign grades, both students got a 75 as their final score. But everybody looks at both of these two people and they do not see similarities between the two. They do not see them as exactly the same. They notice that student number one is very consistent. The values are very close to average, whereas student number two is just all over the place. So what we want to do is we want to develop a way of measuring how spread out, how much variability we have relative to this mean. Okay, so this is what we're going to do with this average distance from the mean. So I want to compute the average distance from the mean for actually for student number one. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up a pen. And so let's go into this one right here. Let's use like a big one like that. And let's do most of our writing, and let's do it in like kind of red. I think that's nice. Okay. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to find the ADM for student number one. So the first thing that we actually need to do is we need to find the mean for student number one. Now we actually did this in class, but I'm going to go ahead and do that again. So remember the mean was 75 plus 74 plus 74 plus 77 plus 75 all over our 5 examinations. So if you remember, when we added up all those values, you get 375 total points. That's going to be divided evenly amongst 5 exams. So when we put that together, we get 75 points per exam. Okay, so notice once again, this was the drawing that we had up on the board. And I actually labeled the mean right there. So after we found the mean, the next thing that we actually want to do is find the distance that each point is away from the mean. Now notice that 75, if we look at 75, that's the first value. Well, that's definitely going to be 0 distance from the mean. 74 is 1 below the mean, but when we're talking about distance, we want that to be positive. That's also 1 below the mean, so that's also going to be positive. And then we want to have the distance from the mean for 77. Well, that's 2 above the mean. Okay, and then the 75, the last 75 is 0. Okay, now in order to get the actual ADM, we're going to take those distances right there and we're just going to average them. Okay, so I'm going to write that over here, ADM. Okay, so I'm going to take each of the distances. So there's 0, there's 1, plus another 1, plus another 2, plus that final 0. And we're going to all divide that by, in this case, we're going to divide it by 5, which is exactly what we have. So when we actually take those and put those together, we get 1 plus 1 is 2. So this is going to be 4 out of 5. Okay. And when we actually divide 4 out of 5, what we're actually going to get is 0.8. Okay. And the way we think about that is that these are the number of points on average that this particular student scores away from the mean. These are the average distance of all those points. So this particular student deviates from average, less than a point on average. And sometimes it's a point above, sometimes it's a point below. Okay? So now you guys, your responsibility is to find the ADM for student number 2 and respond in the text entry on the assignment. All right? I told you it was going to be fast. All right? Thank you very much. See you in class next Monday.